Wait.
Alcohol for me, yay.
Ready, set, cheers.
We're not drinking on the camera.
No, not at all.
This is
Definitely
Canadian water.
This is apple juice.
That burns.
This is butthole.
Oh, where did you guys get this Canadian water?
It's a place called Jack.
No, it's good.
Oh, wow. Is that in, like, Danielsville?
You like it?
Yeah, it's alright.
Jack Daniels is more expensive. That's why we don't we get it.
Overrated.
So, hey, guys, we're doing the shit show. And we have to make sure that there's volume. So, before we get into the process of our show here really quick, we're going to test that. And I just want to...
Oh.
There's sound! Oh, we got it! Yeah! High five! And another one for good measure!
Let's not move too quick. We might break something.
Everything is so much better now. So, guys, the theme of today's show is horror stories. Be it horror movies or horror stories you tell your friends to scare the bejesus out of them. Or, in this case, things that were supposed to go perfectly fine and went to hell.
The show.
The show.
The show.
Today's airing, even.
Right.
Oh, my God. We had an hour and, about an hour's worth of attempting, maybe even a little bit more, of, like, trying to get the stream right and going. And we're still having a bit of an autofocus issue where it zooms in and out every little bit, but ignore it. You can deal. This is the best thing that we've had so far. There's no echo. We're actually being heard. There's video. Everything's great. Hi, Melanie. Oh, yes. Oh, relief.
Oh,
Thank you.
man, this is a lot of work. I didn't think it was going to be so much work. Good
It's
Lord.
supposed to be as simple as click a button, talk, and then shut the fuck up.
All these assholes with these like web shows or YouTube shows that are just like, we're just doing a thing. And
Right.
they're fine with it. Like, they have awesome, like, even, well, I never really watched a live one, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think...
I've seen a couple, like, I've seen a lot of, pre-recorded stuff.
Yeah, I've seen live streams of, like, video games, too, but never...
Yeah, and
like
even
that.
still,
You can't hear me peeing.
No, although you just announced to the world that you're peeing, so...
Yeah.
That's better than you hearing me peeing.
Okay.
Oh. Hang on, I gotta help the kid in.
Alright, so while the kid comes in, let me tell you some things. When we were in Cincinnati, for anybody who wasn't there suffering through it with us, we went to go air the show, and the internet connection at the hotel was just awful. Like, it could not support our stream in the slightest little bit. So, this is thematic, by the way, because this does fit in with horror stories. So we were struggling. I think we did like a 20-minute recording, and we only had like, I'd say maybe 2 minutes total collectively of actual airtime of us talking and stuff. The rest of it was just glitchy, like, movements every now and then, and then, like, you could hear sentences, and then there were different sentences that didn't make sense, and it was a shit show, right? And then as we found out about this issue and we went to go correct it, the fire alarm in the hotel went off, and we had to evacuate our room.
Because you're smoking hot.
So it was a quality shit show, let me just say.
Yes, yeah. That was fun though.
It was funny, and it was interesting, and then we discovered that we can't do shit shows live when we're at hotels because internet sucks.
But you know what though, I say the next time we do something like that, we should at least bring a
Ethernet cable?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ethernet cable. Maybe that'll help.
It could.
I mean, we could try it. We'll try it. If not,
I mean, such as life.
then we
it
just
doesn't work.
pre-record some shit,
Yeah,
which
for
we
sure.
hate doing, but we're gonna do it anyways.
Yeah. I mean,
Because-
we don't get the live interaction, but we were trying to say this in our last attempt at this video. In the future, if we're like going out on a trip or something and we end up having to do a pre-recorded video, we would really greatly appreciate it if you guys could leave comments down below about questions you might have, different things you want to talk about, just extra comments about what we actually talked about in the show. We might not be able to interact with you live, but we can always pull those comments later on in our next live show and respond to them at that point.
Yep.
Alright, guys. So, now that we've gotten the the it's working jitters out of our system now that we're back on track. As we were saying, today's show is themed on horror. The first horror movie, horror stories you tell your friends, all that fun stuff will be discussed. So with that, you can't really start anywhere else but the beginning. And at the beginning of the horror film genre was The Haunted Castle. So, that was not planned at all, just so you guys know. So, the first time that Aaron and I watched this show, okay, it's about 3 minutes long. It was produced in what we thought was 1893, is actually 1896. We were corrected on that.
3 years off. I mean,
it's not bad.
Either way, who the hell knew there was cameras back then?
For sure, considering it was over 100 years ago.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Video.
That is very impressive.
So
it is quality film.
It is. It's really good. Like, I would personally enjoy it more if there was sound, just because I want to understand what's happening in this thing. Because without the sound, you're like, what the fuck? It's black and white. It's smooth video. It's not like frame by frame. It's not stop motion. But they do some stop motion, like cinematic effects, where they pause the recording, bring in a prop or bring in another character or whatever, actor, and then they start the recording up again. Now, I was telling Aaron here that Bewitched from like the 60s or 70s or whatever it was, the first series of Bewitched, did that same thing, where they would stop recording, they'd bring in a prop or whatever, and then they'd start the recording up again, and it created the effect of magic. Now, in Bewitched, you can easily tell that that's what's happening.
Could you imagine, though, just like, you had to stand there for 10 minutes, like,
just frozen
while they move shit around you.
Right.
And you can't move at all. Like,
no, you're frozen in frame.
Right about then is when your nuts start itching. So you'd be like, oh.
I'm just gonna... I didn't move.
And then, yeah, I mean, but that's even impressive. I mean,
it is.
For people to be able to stand there for, or at least... They may not stand there the whole time, but they have to get back to the same exact position they were in when they started. So it didn't look really fucking weird.
Right, absolutely. That, and the whole concept, it's impressive. But what we were really acknowledging was the fact that Bewitched was made in, late 1900s. I don't remember, like I said, if it was 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever, but it was made in the late 1900s. The Haunted Castle was produced in 1893. Decades beforehand, and the smoothness and the fluidity of the stop motion in that is so much better than that of Bewitched. I don't like making the single comparison. I know there's others out there that are just as good as the Haunted Castle in their fluidity, and I know there's others out there that are way worse, but for this sake of argument, Bewitched I think is probably the most commonly known example. So with that said, we're going to actually play this movie for you guys. And we're going to watch it through with you. Sorry. Now, we've both seen it at least once now, I think probably about twice. But there's some interesting scenes. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of in and outs and a lot of characters just popping up out of nowhere and stuff like that. And there's no sound. It's black and white. So just keep that in mind when you watch this. All right, so let me go ahead and pull it up. It might take a second. about it, and we love you, Paul Walker, you're great. The thing about it, though, if I remember correctly, I believe his friend was in the car driving for him.
Right.
And I also believe that there was cocaine involved.
Oh.
If I remember correctly.
Mr. Paul Walker was doing cocaine?
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there was cocaine involved. I could be mixing this up with Ryan Dunn, too, who drove off the bridge driving a Porsche.
Just stop driving cars, people. Just stop.
Just Porsches, really. I mean, the handling is awful at high speeds, and you should not be driving them.
Yeah, I mean, why buy fast cars, okay? I don't get it.
It's an ego thing. Like, I have a loud car that goes really fast. Get in my pants.
But, I mean, like, me, I would buy, like... if I bought a car... Which, this is also why I don't buy a crotch rocket. I want one, but I know if I get a crotch rocket that goes 250 miles an hour, I'm going to want to drive that bitch 250 miles an hour. Nothing's going to stop it. Like, I'm just going to be meet, and then take off on the expressway and then die. Like, I know it's going to happen.
Wait, who are you?
My dad once had I think it was a Kawasaki or something, and he took it on the highway. That bitch hit 130 miles per hour, and the handlebar started shaking, and the tires were just barely gliding across the ground. He's like, okay, nope, we're done. And stop. 250, you'd be in the air, and then you'd be off the bike and still in the air for like another 2 miles.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they don't actually go.
No, I know.
No, they have some where the speedometer says 250 miles an hour, but I'm pretty sure they govern the hell out of that.
Oh, I would.
Even if you take the governor off, it'll probably max out at 175, which is still fast as hell on a bike. But I don't know. Yeah. I've never actually seen a bike go 250 miles an hour.
Me either. But you have a solid point. All the same, like, don't buy something that you know is going to tempt you into a dangerous situation. Like,
that's all I'm saying.
Be safe.
That's all I'm saying.
Friends, be safe.
I'm sorry about that. We got sidetracked.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. So I wanted to actually talk about this movie a little bit. So I pulled some scripting. Don't mind me for a second. So something that I read, I'm going to just quote it here. The first depictions of supernatural events appear in several of the silent shorts created by film pioneer George Méliès.
Sure.
We're going to go with that. In the late 1890s. The best known being Les Meneurs du Diable, which is sometimes credited as being the first horror film. Now, for the record, that is what we just watched. It's also known as The Haunted Castle, at least here in the U.S. In Britain, it's known as The Devil's Castle. The direct translation from Les Meneurs du Diable is The House of the Devil. So anyway, it's a French short silent film directed by Georges. The film, a brief, I can't even read that word, pantomimic sketch in the style of a theatrical comedy fantasy. Tells the story of an encounter with the devil and various attendant phantoms. It is intended to evoke amusement and wonder from its audiences rather than fear. However, because of its themes and characters, it is technically considered to be the first horror film. And because it includes a transformation involving a bat, it has even been called the first vampire film. The film is also innovative in its length. Its running time is over 3 minutes, which was ambitious for its era. That's the word I was looking for.
Ambitious.
Yes. So,
3 minutes was ambitious.
I mean, back in an era where cameras were probably like $1 million. You know? So yeah, it's as we said, it's pretty revolutionary for its time. I think it had some very fluid motion to it, and the theme behind it was kind of interesting, just because they tried to do like this comedic, whimsical sort of thing, and it ended up being coined the first horror film regardless.
Yeah.
Now, in the name of horror films, and we did mention in our first airing of this, like, given the fact that this was the first of its kind, and so well done, if you were to translate money from the 1890s era, count for, inflation and all that other stuff, and, transfer it over to modern time financial money, it probably was one of the highest grossing films of its time, and even of time today, if you, like I said, if you account for inflation and all that.
Yeah. I would think so.
I would be inclined to agree because it is really well done.
Yeah.
Now,
It's
speaking.
super laggy. I'm not even there.
Oh, you hush. Speaking of highest grossing films, do you actually know what the highest grossing horror series is
Oh
in today's
man,
time?
there's so many.
There's so many.
like halfway decent films. I'm not gonna say great films because great films are lacking nowadays.
Especially in the horror genre, it's really hard for the scare factor is
So-
just going down the toilet.
I don't know. Why don't you tell us?
Well,
Sure,
guys,
I couldn't.
before I tell you, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to comment down below and tell me what you think the highest grossing horror movie series is. 10, 9, 8, 7. Joke's on you, it's Saw. Saw.
Oh, really?
Saw has, yeah, surprisingly, right? But they have so many movies. There's 8 Saw movies now. As of, what was it, 2016, 2017? Pretty sure it was 2017.
Because they just made that new one with it was like a
Jigsaw
prequel.
3D or some shit, yeah. Or Jigsaw, not 3D, just Jigsaw.
Yeah, because it was like the prequel, right?
I think so. Yeah, I didn't watch it though, so I don't know. But the Saw movies, in all 8 of them, have grossed $976 million, 298,573 US dollars. Worldwide, of course. This is not just in the U.S., but worldwide, they've grossed nearly $1 billion.
That's sad, really.
It's a low amount, theoretically, honestly.
I mean, for that to be, well, yeah. I mean, theoretically, it is. How much should they spend on the actors alone?
That's a good question. I have no idea, and that's something that we should have looked up, actually. But when you compare it to, what's the highest grossing movie ever? I think it's Avatar, with the blue alien people.
I think so.
Pretty sure that's still top grossing. And they made pretty close to $1 billion just that movie alone.
Right.
But in the film, in the genre of horror, Saw does in fact take the cake.
There must be like a low amount of people that watch horror films.
It's because horror films are so hard to get right nowadays.
Yeah.
It's
I
really
agree.
hard to get a scare out of the audience.
I agree, and it's usually the same crap that they keep replaying.
Pretty much.
Like so, I would have to ask, what is the remake that you hated the most?
Oh god, remake that I hated the absolute most was probably Nightmare on Elm Street. The 2013, 2014 remake.
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, that one was pretty bad.
I didn't like it. What about you?
I'd have to say Psycho.
Fair enough.
The Psycho remake with Vince Vaughn was probably the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not even talking just in horror genre. It was a bad movie. Vince Vaughn is okay, but when he tries to play serious serial killer roles,
it was just not him.
Stop. Stick to your comedy. You're funny dude. Even though you play basically the same person and everything.
Right.
But you're funny regardless. But just stay away from horror.
Right.
Stay away from...
You don't see Adam Sandler going into, drama flicks.
Right.
Yeah. He sticks to what he's good at.
Oh, I don't know. He had that one.
Which one?
What was that? Spanglish?
I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, it was horrid.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I'm not even big on Adam Sandler to begin with, but...
Good
That was bad.
Fair
That
enough.
was a horrible, horrible movie.
Point being, Vince Vaughn, you're not Robin Williams, man. You can't be funny and serious at the same time.
Nope.
Doesn't
Ain't
work.
gonna happen.
If you're watching this, we love you. We didn't mean any offense. Thank you for watching our show. I don't know what brought you here, but Vince Vaughn, you're great. Leave us a comment, man. Appreciate it. Now, we are running a little short on time with all the technical difficulties that we had, so I do want to move on. But we were actually talking about Psycho just a second ago, which leads me into another interesting fact about horror movie genres that I wanted to discuss. Did you guys know that Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho was the first American film ever to feature a toilet flushing on screen?
That's quite a thing.
Isn't mine just blown by that fact? Who the fuck would have thought? That's insane. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's. I don't know what to say about that.
Something that is a little more impressive than that, actually, though. there's a scene in the shower where they have to get the camera looking up at the shower head to have the water flowing back down.
Mm-hmm.
But if you notice, in that scene, no water gets on the lens.
Mm-hmm.
There's no distortion in the video at all. The way that they did this, they actually had to make a special shower head, okay? And so, from what I read, here's the short clip that I read. For a shot looking up into the water stream of the shower head, Alfred Hitchcock had a 6-foot diameter shower head made up. 6 feet. Okay. Blocked the central jets so that the water sprayed only in a cone past the camera lens without any water spraying directly at it. 6 feet. And I mean, this shower head that they made is taller, or bigger rather, than I am.
And for him to be able to direct the water in a way where like you can't tell,
right?
That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean the proportions that they did.
6 foot diameter shower head,
and it looks like
it's going right at the screen.
Yeah,
You know what
I mean
like,
that's yeah. I mean that was impressive on Alfred Hitchcock's part. I don't have a lot of great things to say about him. He's a good director and all. I just don't have anything exponential to preach about him, but this would definitely be one of those things. Like, it's impressive that he had the sense to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I mean, good for Alfred Hitchcock.
I mean, the toilet.
Yeah, like
That's just weird. Like, who's like, holy shit, that's the first time we've seen a toilet flushing. Like,
I mean, maybe
who would even think of that?
Maybe he thought that breaking a record by being the first movie to ever feature a toilet would somehow bring him more business.
And apparently it did. It worked.
I guess.
He's one of the biggest horror directors ever.
That's true.
In the history of history.
Now, we talked about, like, our least favorite remakes, but what's your favorite horror movie of all time?
Wait.
Favorite horror movie of all time?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Now, it sounds cheesy. Okay, but my absolute number one favorite horror movie of all time is Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh my god. Why?
There's memories attached to that movie, so it's cheesy. It's a B movie. I love B movies. I love indie movies. And to me, like, it was goofy, and first time I watched it, I was like 5 or 6, so it was freaky as hell then. Now we laugh at it, but back then it was scary, like. And that was like the very first horror movie I ever watched, and I had my grandma actually. She watched it with, like, she was the one that was like, "Hey, we should watch this." I'm like, "Okay,
sounds good, man."
Clowns, like. And then I realized quickly that it's about clowns wrapping people up with cotton candy and drinking their blood. So
and now you're terrified of clowns for the rest of your life.
I'm actually not. I'm okay with clowns.
I've never understood the inherent fear of clowns. They're supposed to be, like, whimsical and stuff. Granted, they're fucking weird in general, but I mean, they're not scary.
I think it stemmed from one person, like, trying to be different.
Big bite.
I think that's where that fear came from. Somebody was just like, you know what? Everybody loves clowns.
I'm
going to say I'm terrified of clowns. I'm just going to say that I am. And then eventually, throughout time, people are like, I'm scared of clowns. I'm scared of clowns.
It's a good
I mean,
theory.
you'd be creeped out by clowns.
Yeah.
I mean, I think most people are just creeped out. They're not really terrified or scared,
Oh, my aunt, dude. My aunt is fucking... I show her pictures of clowns and she's... Ah!
Well, I guess it's possible. I mean, they did make a phobia, like a name for that phobia, which I don't remember, but...
I don't know. There's phobias for everything.
Everything.
Too, like,
everything.
No.
Tinfoil. There's a phobia for tinfoil.
Who is afraid of tinfoil?
I don't know. Like, it grosses me out when people chew it, but...
Well, yeah, that's not natural.
It's not, and it makes my teeth hurt when I'm watching somebody do this.
I have a phobia of moths.
Of moths?
Yeah, they scare me.
Well, that makes sense, too. I mean, they get in your hair and flop around.
My
And...
brothers locked me in a tent when we were camping when I was a kid, and they kept throwing more and more moths in.
Oh.
They kept hitting my face.
That's
And
awful.
I see one and I freak out.
I guess that makes sense.
Okay, guys, next segment. I do apologize that I'm putting a rush on it, but I am slowly running out of time. So, next segment is 43 terrifying facts. He did.
He snapped that bitch in half. Like,
you gotta fix this.
oh man.
So with that, guys, there's only one other thing we were going to talk about, and I'm just going to briefly mention it because I do have to get going.
Style that can talk to you and do whatever, you know.
Which it is kind of cool.
It is, but now you run into shit like this, and it's like you can't even fuck a machine anymore without somebody getting all upset about it. You know what I mean? It's like it's ridiculous, and I think it's stupid, and those people need to get lives.
Or get laid by, like, not robot. No.
Right.
By a robot, actually. Fuck it. Let them get laid by a robot.
Right, and then you can have a say on whether that robot should have rights.
Right. You know, when it looks at you and tells you, oh, your penis is so big, but you're like 2 inches, now you know. It's not a human.
No, humans do that too.
Oh, well, I've been proven wrong. All right. Well, we'll have to tell the vagina story another time, because I do have to get going. I'm going to be late.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So, guys, thank you so much for watching the shit show. We do appreciate all of the views. We apologize for the earlier complications, but we did get them fixed and figured out.
What the hell? Son of a bitch. Are you watching this one? Is this the one you're watching?
If you can't hear us, it's your fault, because we've got sound, okay? We can hear the sound.
Did you mute it? You muted the sound.
You muted it. It's your fault.
On your phone or whatever the hell you're using to watch this.
Exactly. All right, guys. I got to get going. Tune in with us next week. We will be airing again on Saturday as long as everything goes well, I believe.
You know it's not going to go well. Come on.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to be out of town Saturday anyway.
See, some bitch.
I forgot about that. I will be out at a family memorial.
Ah.
But, you know, I could Skype call in and we could do the show. You'd have to host.
Well, you going to Skype at a memorial?
Yeah. Yeah. It'll only be for an hour. No big deal. I can talk about the gruesome death of my family. I can hear you now. You should have been able to hear us before.
But if you were talking when the page was up, I couldn't hear you.
Oh. What?
Which page?
Oh, you know what? That might make sense, actually. That might make sense.
We didn't have a microphone on in that one?
Maybe not. It's supposed to be automatic, but maybe not. Oh, well. No big deal. People still got to see all the pages, though, so that's great.
Yeah, and you can hear us for most of this one. So
yeah.
We're good.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. No worries.
Yeah.
It's all good. So anyways, guys, I gotta go. Thank you again so much. Tune in with us either next week or whenever we put up a new posting. It should be next week. We might have to do some Skype calling or something along those lines, but we'll get it figured out for you guys. In the meantime, stay shitty, friends.
Have a good one.
Deuces. 5, 4, 3,